Okay, welcome back. This is for the review of the master case. So that's the four inner cases. We'll briefly go over the different foils and then some different variations of some of the rarities. And then, like as always, in the description below, there will be the breakdown of the boxes, cases, as well as the overall numbers for the master case. For the master case one, it won't really have so much as the numbers, but more or less how much of each copy of the card you get. So we'll start with the lower rarities. So we'll only do like a few of the 1 stars and 2 stars. So like the 1 stars within the whole master case. So that's the four different inner cases. You get about between 6 to 8 copies of each foil for the 1 star versions. Okay. So that's this pile here. And then for 2 stars, you get about I believe it's 9 to 10 of each copy. So again, it varies a little bit. Most of them is usually like 9, and then a few will have like the leftover from each of the different boxes. So you get 10 of each. And again, the difference between the different foilings. So like 1 stars and 2 stars don't have foils, or like another foil variant. They just have the normal common version. But then if you look in the lighting, they're slightly textured, which is also transferred over into the 3 stars as well. So I'll show the more variation for those. So for 3 stars, you get 31 to 32 copies within a whole master case. So again, that's between the 4 cases. So like 1 case should be more than enough to get you your playset of each one, or even if you just need 5 because you want to maybe do 4 in a deck and then 1 for like maybe a Highlander. But again, the normal 3 stars, the one way to tell like this 3 stars easily from the high rarity version is that the 3 stars, the name and the level is in white, and then even the stars also is white, as well as the foiling is more like a normal matte sheen, whereas the high rarity has similar to like the 1 stars and 2 stars. So like with the high rarity, so Mortana. So if we put the high rarity, so the one on the right is the high rarity. So you'll notice there's some extra border, or there's less of a border on the high rarity versions, but then you'll notice that the wording is also in gold, because some of these borders that it like this one enters actually in the name, has the magical circle, but on the normal version doesn't have it. But some of them are very subtle with how much they like crop the image, or how much they like have the image extend, like how on the right where like her leg sticks out from the corner while that one doesn't, but like her sword only like barely touches over the edge. And there's other versions too where it's like very subtle, which I'll show in a little bit. But again, and also the stars, the 3 stars is in gold as well. And even like the numbers in the attack, HP, and strike is also in that goldish color. So that's the difference between the 2 different foilings for the 3 stars for high rarity versions, as well as the normal version, since I know some people do get confused like what's the difference, because some of them are very subtle. So like for example, I know the red one of the red ones, so this one, the Autonomous Patrol Sky Trooper Seiron. So again, on the left is the low rarity, the one on the right is the high rarity. So you'll notice like these aren't actually like white dings. This is actually part of the card itself, so it's supposed to be like the wind or the sky in the background, but most of it doesn't really get rid of any of the border on like the top. But on the very bottom, if you'll notice, like you see where her legs just extend out on the extended version. So like this one has very, very subtle extended art. So that's why usually the lettering and the gold in the stars and the lettering is usually how you'll be able to tell the difference between the high rarity and the low rarity version, or at least that's the easiest way to tell. Because I do know some people do get confused between the 2. The high rarities also have, like you'll notice there's a lot more sheen to it, especially like these outside borders. I actually like that they have the borders because it has like more of that like goldish textured look to it, especially like on the Volnar cards. And then, oh, sorry, for the high rarities, you get, for the high rarity 3 stars, you get about 9 each, exactly of each within the whole master case. And again, so these are mostly just for like if you want, like the high rarity variants of the cards itself. Moving on to I guess we can move on to the 4 stars. So for the 4 stars, the normal versions, you get about 21 to 22 of each for the normal versions. And again, just like the with the high rarity versions, some of them have very subtle differences between the variations, but some are pretty easy to tell. So like, for example, with RS, so on the left, so this time the lettering is the same, where both letters on the name are in the gold, but then the stars aren't. So like on the normal version, the stars are like that white again, so you can clearly see it, whereas the 4-star high rarity will have the golden stars. And you'll notice this one too, the border is like completely gone for the Volnar part for the yellow on it. So usually that's some of the big differences with the high rarity versions. And then we can show some of the other, for like the other factions, so like with Vestoris Rex. So there's not too much high variation in the number of counts that you get, which is really good, because I know with Gate Ruler, they're pretty good about, ratios where, like one card isn't like super short printed, versus like others. So which is a good thing for if you're trying to just like build sets to at least just play. And then for the 4-star high rarity versions, you get 5 to 6 of each one of the high rarity ones. So these are ones, again, are usually like full border, where they pretty much get rid of all of the border around to tell that they are high rarity, as well as they have that same sheen that these 3-star foilings have. So again, with these high rarity ones, you get 5 to 6. And then so there's a few that you want to get like duplicates of. Like I would have liked to have gotten, or I did get like a 6 copy of this one, but then some you get shorted and you only get like 5. But again, 5 is more than enough for a playset. And again, these are high rarity versions, so you don't actually need them to play. It's just like an aesthetic purpose if you don't like want ones with the border in it. But even like some of the high rarity versions, like this one even has the border still on the bottom, but like they got rid of it on the side on the edge. So some of them are a little bit different in the treatment that they get for the different high rarity foils. And then for 4 stars, there's also the uber rare versions. So for 4-star uber rare versions, you get one of within the whole master case, because it's one guaranteed 4-star uber rare per box. You get a total of 24, so you get at least one of each copy of the different uber rares. And then some look nicer than others. The one difference with this set, because there is one 4-star uber rare guaranteed, it's not like in the second set where it was like one of 3 different versions where you could get a foil ruler, you could get a 4-star uber rare, or you could get the secret rare. So because of that, the pack is actually different, where the pack that you get, the 4-star uber rare will come with a normal 3-star, an uber rare, and then probably like a 1-star or 2-star high rarity card. So like for collector purposes, a master case is probably more than worth it, especially if you're trying to get like these high rarity versions. But these won't probably be too expensive, but for some of them they are extremely nice because of the way that they do like the coloring for some, where some of the colors really stand out among the monochrome background. For legends, so for legends you get about 9 to 10 of each, because again it's still 2 normal legends per box. And again, this one we only have 5 legends. We were supposed to have the 6th one, which was supposed to be the printing of Schrodinger's cat, which is supposed to be the equivalent of Flying Spaghetti Monster. But again, I guess they pushed it back because they wanted to make it similar to like the Japanese product, since it is a simultaneous release. So again, you get all of the different ones. And then even for like this card with Masashi, like I mentioned in the box opening, this one is actually a different art than what the Japan has, because they had one that dealt with Cobra and another character from an earlier game. But again, because of licensing, they probably had to change it, which is like the reason why we couldn't get like Flying Spaghetti Monster. But this one you get about 9 copies to 10 of each of the different legends. And then for the Uber legends, you get about 4 to 5 of each. You get 5 of each, and then usually one you'll get 4 of. So like I had 4 of the Von Regan or Von Rain, but then I have 5 of like all the other ones of like Tatari, Masashi, and even like the Megiddo. And again, for the uber rare, some people really like these ubers because I like the coloring, but it is very hard to like play with because it is like just hard to read. Whenever they have these foilings of the same foiling on the letterings as the background, it gets really hard to like read some of those sometimes. The next one I want to go over is the super rares or the SRs, which is the level 4s from this set. So we'll go with the normal versions first. So there's actually 3 variants of the superior rares. So there, within a box, you do get 6 of these superiors. However, 4 of them are normal versions, and then 2 of them will be the high rarity variant, where there's usually like a slightly less border, and it's similar to that where like the stars are in white for the normal version, and then there'll be like gold lettering for the high rarity, and then some of the borders will be actually a little bit extended for some. But for the normal SRs or superior rares, you get about 10 to 11 of each of the different superior rares for the normal versions. And then one thing to note too is that because you get 6 per box, the superior rares are always in the pack with the ruler. So the ruler, so like the common ruler for this set, which is Trickster, Overlord, and Dreadnought, you get, because you get 6 per box, you will usually get, if you get the normal version, you will have 1 3-star, a superior rare, and then you'll have a 2-star foil. And it's always been a 2-star foil for the whole master case for my whole box, because I started trying to track those as well. But then with the high rarity, it'll be in the back of the pack, so you'll get 2 3-stars and then your high rarity version of this. So that way, so that's why when I first started opening, I didn't even notice that there was a difference between. Though I was just thinking, oh, it's kind of weird that like, oh, my Lucifer is in the back of the pack versus like somewhere in the middle. But then I actually realized that they have like very slight different variations in them. So again, we'll just breeze through these ones for the normal 4-star. And then of course, I'll show the variations between some of them, as some of them are very like subtle. But for some, so that's why when you go to like buy singles, it's very important that you are knowing what you are looking at when it comes to the superior rares. So that was the normal superior rares. So again, you get about 10 to 11 of those. For the high rarity, you get 5 to 6 of each. So you get 5, I think it's probably like around 5 guaranteed, and then you get 3 extra that could just be random. And some of them you want to be probably more duplicate than others. Like, for example, like you want like more Lucifers. Unfortunately, I didn't get a duplicate for my Lucifer. But then for like, with this one, Raid Gargoyle, you'll notice it looks very similar to the other one. But of course, in the lighting, you'll notice it has that same sheen that the other high rarities do. But again, the gold lettering, sorry, it might be hard to see. The gold lettering on the stars versus the white lettering on the normal version. As well as like the border. So for example, if I take like, this is the normal version, you'll notice you can see the Volnar border of this card versus the other one, but then the stars are different. So then we have these ones, and the Dragon, and then Lucifer again. This card is probably, in my opinion, one of the best ones from this set. And like, it's something that if your opponent is playing Alice, it's always something you have to be conscious about, because the 5 damage is very significant when it comes to many units, because most will have about 5 HP, which used to be a pretty big standard for having like a chunky unit when it came to like sets 1 and 2 metas. So, and because a lot of like now 5 HP is not a lot because of like the existence of Lucifer. And then you have the other ones, and then like Ifrit, Ed, and then even Narcanthrope. And the last one for the superior rares is that you do get 1 superior rare per box as a box topper, and the box topper is also different. But again, they are very similar to other ones. So like, it's a little bit harder to see. So you'll notice when you look at the lighting in this one, you see how it has like this slight texture. So it's not actually textured where you couldn't like really feel it, but it's more of like a lighter texture where it's not like, it doesn't stand out a lot from the rest of the card, but you can still kind of notice the feeling of it. However, it does resemble like a normal 4-star superior, because again, the lettering is like that where, so again, if you put them side by side, the card is pretty much exactly the same. The only difference is again in the light or the lighting. You'll notice to see the normal version on the right is very flat, whereas the one on the left has more of a textured version or a textured pattern to it on certain parts of the card. So usually you get about, within a whole master case, because you do get 6 per case, you get about 2 each, and then again you get duplicates of some. Like one of my duplicates is of Ray, Two of that one. Another duplicate was of this, the Blue Dragon, Lucifer, and again, they have like slight texture to them on mostly the character of the card, and then the background is usually that flat sheen, but then the character itself has that slightly textured bottom. And I even have like an extra of the Draconoid and of Sakuhime. And also of Ifrit. So you get quite a few of duplicates. You get about 7 duplicates, which could be any of the 9. And it just happens, like, for me, I would prefer to have, like, an extra Lucifer than some of the other ones. But again, that's just the difference between... so there are 3 variations of the superiors that you just need to be careful about, especially if you buy singles. So again, like, there's a... With the right has the textured, but it looks like a normal 4-star. And again, the lettering is normal, but it has this texture to it. And then the high rarity one is the most distinguished because it has the gold 4-star and usually is a little bit more borderless. And as well, it has that high sheen. And then the 4-star is just like a normal type of like how other 4-stars have their regular foiling. For the rulers, so you get, so in the box, there is the extra slot. So for each box, you get either a foil ruler or you get one of the secret rares. In the case, it looks like you get there's only 2 secret rares in this set, which is Alice and Yumemi, which is the legend secret. And then one of the things is that so it looks like you get 2 of each because again, there's 4 cases within the master, so then it's evenly distributed. Similar to like how they did the second set where there was the 2 main secrets, or actually that one had 3 secrets, but then they gave it where it was 2 of the unit, 1 ruler, and then 1 of the alternate art. For me personally, I actually am not a fan of them using secret rares for like these kinds of cards like Yumemi, where even though it may not be like the best, and although I am glad it's a legend, so I don't need like that many copies. Like you only really need 1 because it's a legend. But like with the Beast one from the last one, the Beast Folk, I think I ended up picking up like 4 copies anyway, just because I wanted a playset of them, which can get pretty pricey. So I would prefer them to make it things like Alice, or like Jenny Barbie, where it's like a full art or an alternate art completely. But you don't need it to play, you know, like one of those type of things where it's not necessarily to play the game, but it's more of an aesthetic purpose. Like, if you want to show off or bling out your deck for those, you know, that really like certain units. And then for the 4 rulers, you get at least 3 of each of the 4 rulers within the master case. Because again, within a master case, you'll get 5 rulers. So essentially you get 1 of each. Male and female. So again, there's actually only 3 different rulers, but again, there's a male-female version. So again, the male version is in the black border, and then the silverish border is the female version. And again, the silhouette, you can kind of tell for some of them. So then you get 3 of each, and then you get a few extra of the normal versions. But with most players, most people don't necessarily care too much about the 4 rulers because the game allows for you to use like people have been doing proxies of different rulers of their own, so you don't necessarily need these. But then, so that's right. So these won't be too expensive if you want to pick them up, and like if you want to get certain foils of certain ones, maybe even just for collection purposes. But with that, that's the end of the video. Oh, and then one thing I wanted to mention is that there is no starter deck cards in this set. So even though we did get the second starter deck for the Zombie Apocalypse, there's no 0 stars like how we had in the very first set, which is kind of a good thing because with the first set, it was a lot harder to get 1-star foils because there was so many of them, but you didn't get enough to make like a whole, you didn't get like enough copies of each one to even get a whole set within a whole case. So meaning like in a master case, you wouldn't get a playset of every single 1-star foil. So I am concerned how they're going to release the foils for the starter deck. In my opinion, for starter decks going forward, if they do, what they should do is, because the idea was that you could use 2 copies to make like a full deck, what they should do is, if there's multiple copies of a card, they should make it where at least 1 copy of the card comes in foil, and then there's like a normal version of it. That way, like if you want to make a full foil deck, you just buy 4 copies of the starter deck, which also would mean that it's cheaper. Like if like you have a group of friends where maybe some people don't want the high rarity version, where you buy 4 of the decks and then you split the cost between, you know, the 4 copies of like the normal version and then 4 copies of the high rarity version for that. Which is why probably there was enough copies that you get, you know, so many copies of 1 stars, 2 stars in this set. Okay. but with that, thanks for watching. And again, in the description below, I will have the breakdown of the boxes, cases, and then the whole master case in general for numbers. And then at some point, I'm hoping to try to do deck videos. I'm usually very lazy about that, so I usually just do the openings, like every 3 months whenever the set comes out. So if I don't end up doing any videos on any new product or on any decks, I will be doing it whenever the next set comes out, which is supposedly planned for January. And hopefully maybe in that set we'll end up finally getting a mass-produced version of the Schrodinger's cat or the Flying Spaghetti Monster. But until then, the promo might be the only way, which is kind of concerning just because it'll be a little bit more expensive. Okay, so with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.